Welcome to this new tutorial. I'll show you how you can create this fluffy ball shader. It somehow looks like cotton candy or clouds or something similar, and it isn't volumetric, even though it might look like it was. It isn't. It's just a sphere, and the sphere also is not changing its geometry in any way. This is basically a fake 3D effect, if you could call it this. But in my opinion it looks pretty good, and that's why I decided to make a tutorial about it. Here you can see the pattern changing a bit faster. And here you can see it doesn't change the geometry, it just looks like it was. Now let's create this shader. I'll call it Fluffball for the sake of the tutorial, but of course you can call it whatever you like. Create a material that we can assign to the sphere to see the changes happening. Create a gradient noise node. We will use this as a texture for the fake displacement and as a general texture for this shader. So we don't have to use any actual textures, we can use the built-in stuff. This makes it easier for you to replicate, and you don't need anything else than Unity and a shader graph. Create some properties, the noise scale and the speed at which the pattern changes, so you can edit it in the inspector. We will need two gradient noises that we will multiply, and those have to change in a different direction. Therefore we will, for one, offset it by the normal time, and the other one we will offset by the negative time. Now multiply them both together and we will have an interesting changing pattern. We will now work with that to create the albedo and the fake displacement. Create a property for the primary color. Drag it in and multiply it with the created changing pattern. Get the pattern and plug it into a 1- node to make all the black parts white and the white parts black. And we'll add a secondary color. If we multiply it with that, we will be able to adjust both colors, and the one part which is normally black on the gradient noise will be our secondary color, and part which is normally white will be our primary color. We can already see it happening, but for now that looks pretty boring because we don't have our fake displacement and it doesn't really look like fluffy or cloudy or like cotton candy yet. For the effect, for the 3D effect, the fake displacement, we will use a Fresnel effect, create the property for the Fresnel color and plug it in. But for now, this Fresnel effect is needed to be turned because the white parts will be visible and we don't want the edge to be visible, but the middle part. So we have a smooth transition always. Create another power node and be able to control some additional power. Make sure you set the shader to transparent, otherwise you won't see any changes because we plugged it into the transparency. Now we can already start to see what's happening. If we adjust the normal Fresnel power and then the additional power, we can already create something that resembles a cloudy shape a bit more. But the edges look too soft right now and we need to change it so that one part is a bit lifted and the other pushed inwards. So we'll duplicate our Fresnel whole thing and add a value so that we have one Fresnel effect which is a bit bigger than the other. Let's call this property push out and simply add it to the power of the Fresnel. Put it into a multiply node and connect it with the pattern. This makes it so that the primary color, which is white, will be pushed out or look like it's pushed out. Actually, it's not pushed out, and the black will be pushed in. Now we can create properties to be able to adjust the normal values like metallic and smoothness, which every material should have. But for this material we probably usually want those to be 0. Now you can already see the fake displacement sort of happening. Now it's just an adjustment of the values to have it look better or worse. Now that's basically the shader. If you don't adjust the values in the right way, it doesn't look like fake displacement anymore, because the transparency on the edges is being too high, and therefore you can see the edges of the sphere, which we don't want. But with values like this, the Fresnel power about 3, the additional power about 30 to 40, and the push out of about 1 to 1.5, it looks pretty good. Of course, you can adjust the scale of the noise and the scroll speed of the noise. And we have created our fluffy shader.